Final Fantasy VII is timeless. Children can still play it for the first time today and rekindle the joy, sadness, and unexpected boners experienced by past generations. Adding political commentary to the upcoming remake would destroy the sanctity of the material, and while I'm not saying that's going to happen, for a moment, let's just imagine Squeenix outsourced the Final Fantasy VII remake to a group of pink-haired trust fund babies from California. Now I'm not sure what they'll do about Cloud. Social justice warriors should love him due to his numerous disabilities. Cloud is an amnesic, crippled, cross-dressing twink with post-traumatic stress disorder who regularly participates in the murders of uniformed policemen. Unfortunately for the social justice crowd, Cloud is also a white male who commits a hate crime when he slaps the unleavened bread out of Aerith's filthy Jew mouth, then tosses her into a pond like an old car battery and leaves her to get nibbled by catfish for all eternity. While the most obvious choice to make the game more social justice friendly would be to replace Cloud with Lightning, the androgynous abomination from Final Fantasy XIII, I suspect the devs would instead have Cloud enjoy his cross-dressing quest a little bit too much and make Barrett the only option for the date in the Golden Saucer. Though this stolen valor-committing, pineapple-haired idiot also carries a knife at all times, so the devs might just do the logical thing and make Cloud Puerto Rican instead. Delicious vitamin D dispensing goo goddess Tifa Lockhart would likely suffer the worst in a supposed social justice influenced remake of Final Fantasy VII. Tifa single-handedly, pun intended, caused the Japanese birth rate to decline. She's caused more balls to drop than New Year's, filled more underoos with preteen peen cream than Nambla, caused more dented helmets than the National Football League, and deflated more balls than Tom Brady. Her breasts are so deliriously delicious, delectable, and delightful that at one point in the game, a disgusting flat body tries to kill Tifa out of jug jealousy. Luckily, Tifa learned the proper way to slap by peering through the screen at the player. Even Godzilla appears at one point and attacks the city just to protect them puffy polygonal pillows. Like most dairy cows, Tifa dispenses drinks for a living, though to be perfectly honest, though Tifa's cooch is meaty, this is a little meatier. Odds are, our social justice warrior developers would either remove Tifa's milk kegs entirely, or transform her into the sort of horrific intersexed abomination that Japanese perverts with daddy issues enjoy drawing her as. Rather than beating enemies with her fists, our new character, Transfa, would likely bite her knuckles and slather the enemies with her AIDS blood, causing them to die months later after someone sneezes on them. Kidnapper of white children, and the only man in the world other than Chuck Heston to use a machine gun to masturbate, Barrett is the least likely character to change in our hypothetical SJW reboot. He is already a crippled minority who took Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth video too seriously. If anything about Barrett were changed at all, they'd probably replace his problematic gun arm with a much more child-friendly glowing dildo. Aerith presents an interesting challenge. As someone who tears up the floorboards of a church in order to steal flowers to sell to goys who don't know that they could just get them for free, she should be social justice warrior approved as an accurate portrayal of a typical Jewish woman. She even fucks dogs. And by the way, if you think I'm talking about that scene where Big Bull Hojo tries to get Red 13 to give this hot to trot thought the knot, you're wrong. If you take the fate of Aerith to its logical conclusion, Aerith is likely burning in hell for her inherited role in the murder of baby Jesus and is probably being raped by the multi-headed barbed cocks of Cerberus as we speak. Final Fantasy VII is odd in that way. When you think about it, Shinra kidnaps Aerith thinking that a Jew would lead regular humans to a land of supreme happiness, when in real life, the exact opposite is true. If anything, the developers would probably accentuate Aerith's innate Jewiness by having her avoid being killed by Sephiroth at the last second as she bends over to pick up a penny. I suspect our avocado-sucking devs would cut Red 13 entirely from the game due to his toxic portrayal of Native American stereotypes. The casual observer may believe him to be an actual peanut butter-licking vector for autism that moonlights as a Second Life avatar, but if you pay close attention to what Budenhagen-Dazs says at the Cosmo Canyon Casino, you'll realize that Red 13 only looks that way due to the hallucinogenic effect of the reconstituted Lysol vapors that seep through his sweat glands. Honestly, if God wanted children to play with a one-eyed monster covered in red hair, he wouldn't have allowed those policemen to put me on the registry. Speaking of characters that need to go, Count Cuculus serves no purpose in the story and gets so emasculated by his waifu that he starts dressing like a Kingdom Hearts fan character. If anything, our reviewer Blowing Devs would keep Vincent the same, but make Hojo, the man who cucks him, black instead. Cat shit would probably remain unchanged, save for the implication that the robotic cat and the Mog were in a twink bowl relationship, where the Mog takes the strawberry with a smile. Though Yuffie is a fidget spinner tossing, marble grubbing chike, she is also full of spunk, and by spunk, I mean sperms. Though you might expect our hypothetical social justice developers to remove Yuffie from the game due to her being a sexualized girl, Yuffie is also obsessed with balls. They'd likely make all the material black so that, like the developers themselves, she'd be obsessed with big ol' stanky black balls. I would also like to take a moment to point out why Yuffie's kleptomania makes a little sense. No matter how the Final Fantasy VII Remake turns out, I hope the developers drop the Pavlovian conditioning aspect of materia growth. Pavlov was a German pervert who tweaked the nipples of dogs before feeding them, then found out that the dogs would get nervous whenever he entered the room. Much in the same way, Final Fantasy VII manipulates the player into associating materia growth with joy. After battles, a bar fills up, a jingle plays, colorful materia pops up with a chime, you remember Tifa's titties, and drool. No matter how many times I beat Final Fantasy VII, I tell myself I'm not gonna bother with any magic or summon materia, then end up feeding magic pots in the final area so I can have a quick set of master materia that I'll never fucking use. Also, my nipples get hard for some reason, but that's none of your business. Space Ace Sid knows a woman's place, and for that reason, he would likely be removed as a playable character, instead of piloting a rocket ship, filling in as group leader when Cloud is too busy running 8chan, and forcing Shara to share a cup of tea, bitch. Sid would likely be replaced by a female astronaut of color named Quadisha, who propels the high wind with her hot, barbecue sauce-scented queefs. Like all male Jews, Sephiroth is manipulated by his mother, Genova. This pigeon-winged football pad-wearing weirdo is such a mama's boy that he went so far as to ask his own mother for a little head. Overall, I think the original game is as good a game as you can make with the existing characters and premise. Square tried a couple of times to extend the universe with spin-offs and movies, and frankly, none of them were particularly good. With luck, they'll stick to the original source material and take no notes from the Western media. Thanks for your time, and if you liked the video, feel free to like it, tweet about it, scream your favorite line from it at strangers at the bus stop, buy one of my overpriced books, or come to my house and touch my pecker.